Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of our shooting program, and welcome to today's show. We're so glad to have you. We hear from viewers all over North America, and we really do appreciate every last one of you. Well, friends, we have a great show for you. We're going to be talking about some things. The judge had a visit with Pat Buchanan a few days ago, and I know you're going to enjoy hearing about that. So let's take this Mossberg, or in fact, how about a Maverick Bullpup, and let's start another shooting program. Now, friends, what we opened our program with today, this is a Mossberg or Maverick. Of course, Maverick is owned by Mossberg, and the Mavericks are made in Eagle Pass, Texas, that's on the Texas and Mexico border. And honestly, this is a unique package, sort of a specialized gun. It's called a Bullpup because it is so short. Now, you'll notice the ejection port is back at the rear, and you have a shield here. And of course, here's the way the gun is designed to be used, and it's going to eject the empty case away from you. And yes, we have a jet airplane, and it'll go away in a minute. Anyway, it is a different package. This particular gun, and we'll take a closer look in just a moment, it has a trigger safety, a block type safety up here that a lot of us are familiar with on rifles, different types of guns. It also has a grip safety reminiscent of the 1911, and it won't fire unless you do have a proper grip. You'll notice the fore end down here has a vertical piece rather than, say, on this Remington here. This is what we're normally used to as far as pump shotguns, like so. Well, believe it or not, this is a regular Model 500 Mossberg with a different stock. And you have a weight back here, a spacer type thing, and you do have a recoil pad. And recoil with it is really not that bad. It's just different. They have a notation here on the stock. It says, shoot from right shoulder only. Well, I suppose that, and we know that this gun is empty. We know it is. I suppose they don't want you to have a shell or a hot shell or something in your face, because your face, for a lot of people, would be right up here against it. It has a carrying handle and sighting mechanism, if you want to call it that, because it's pretty rudimentary, trust me. And I'm always amazed because we get guns, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a few minutes, but let's just say that there's not enough adjustment in this adjustable sight. You're going to have some washers or something. That it would be easy to do. If this were my gun, I would do it. I would either trim down this plastic front sight, or I would raise the rear sight, because at 25 yards, the sights on this particular gun are about 2 feet off from where you're aiming at. The actual point of impact is quite a bit off. Another case of apparently, it's a nice concept, but the people who make these guns sometimes don't go out and shoot them. And it's not just true with these, and Mossberg does make, by and large, a very fine shotgun. They're rugged, they're inexpensive, and this is really not a very expensive piece to be a 12-gauge pump shotgun. Again, it's just a regular Mossberg 500. The action is back here in the stock itself, and I can see some uses for security forces. Of course, the first thing I would do is fix the sight where I can hit something with it. And again, not too terribly difficult. But I could see having a flashlight. Go ahead, you could pump the gun. The mechanism release is back here on the looking at it on the left side of the stock, and you just put your thumb in it and pump it. But go ahead and load the gun if you wanted to. Have your finger on the safety off the trigger, and I could see taking a flashlight, something like so, having the gun here underneath your arm. Recoil is not bad, since, let's take a look at it, in fact. Go ahead and load one round in the gun, and under that type of scenario, let's just see what it would look like. Let's suppose I did have the gun under my arm, and yes, it's going to be sure my hearing protection is in good, because as much certainly as I shoot a gun, which is more than the average person, if I didn't protect my hearing, well, I wouldn't be able to hear at all. So anyway, let's just take a look fired like so. Push our safety off. We're going to pretend like we did have a flashlight out here and see what will happen. See, not too terrible much recoil, because you do have a good pistol grip. Of course, the action did open slightly. And see, it throws the shells well away, actually a little bit forward, so away from the shooter. Not a bad concept. Maybe somewhat limited purpose, but for someone if you wanted a shotgun, if you wanted a portable gun, and let's say you're caught by the Brady Bill. Maybe someone has threatened your life. Maybe you're a woman who has been threatened, and you go down to buy your handgun. Well, guess what? Thanks to Sarah Brady and that nutty bunch of hers, and including a whole bunch of congressmen and your president, well, you can't buy a handgun without waiting for a week. So this would be a reasonable alternative. Now, a gun like this is going to take some practice. You're going to have some instruction. One, you're going to have to learn to use the release. You're going to have to learn how a pump shotgun works. But, you know, it's very difficult doing that same drill with this longer gun. See, if you poke your gun barrel around a corner or in your home or around a door, someone can reach out and grab it. And believe me, you don't want to be wrestling with someone. If they got one end of your gun, you've got the other. You don't want that to happen. That is something you absolutely do not. That's one of the advantages, of course, that handguns have. You can have a situation where you can have the gun back protected as far as the mechanism itself about your purchase on the gun can be protected by holding it back against your side. If you're worried about, if you have to go through your home, if for one reason or another you have to see what a noise was in your home, you can hold your gun back here and have your flashlight in your other hand. So that's one of the reasons for handguns. They are portable. Well, a long gun like this, and we've all seen the movies, we've seen people poke the gun barrel around a door or something, and it's very easy. All someone has to do is just grab that barrel. So the long guns are not the best for a house clearing type situation that a lot of us have faced, myself included. A lot of us have been in situations where we had to investigate. There was no one around. The police couldn't get there. Had to investigate. That's where handguns are so handy. Okay, due to the Brady Bill, if you need a gun, typically you need it real bad. If you need a handgun, well, this would be an alternative. Now, as far as a hunting gun, I'd want something else. I would much prefer something else because of the length of sight, because of this configuration, but for its intended purpose. And I think we could assume more security type thing. And plus, with this shape, I think it would be intimidating to someone who doesn't know much about guns. And believe it or not, your average burglar, your average hoodlum, your average gang member, they're not gun enthusiasts. They really don't know that much. Now, it is impressive, and of course, it holds 5 in the magazine. It does have a serious amount of firepower, 12-gauge shotgun. This barrel is an open choke barrel, and it does spread dramatically in a hurry, so I wouldn't want to use the gun at a far distance, even 20-25 yards, because the spread is very dramatic. It spreads out in a hurry. Well, let's take a closer look. In fact, before we do that, let's do a little bit of shooting with the gun. Let me get out. I have some birdshot loads. We've shot buckshot in it, shot some slugs, and it performed okay, other than the sight mechanism being pretty far off. It loads in the bottom just like most other pump shotguns, like the other Mossbergs. And let's try something here. Let's take our Remington 870, which is honestly one of the finest, if not the absolute finest shotgun ever built by anybody. This is my old gun here. And let's do a little shooting here and see just the difference in the two guns as far as type of recoil. So, load our 870, push our safety off. You can shoot these, of course, rapidly and accurately, and standard recoil. You're going to get some up here. Well, let's compare it to our Maverick Bullpup. Here we go. And due to this is a longer trigger mechanism, in fact, it's a remote trigger mechanism, and one time while I was shooting there, I didn't release it far enough like I did on the standard shotgun there, and it takes a little getting used to. But honestly, you didn't get as much muzzle rise. I find that interesting. Don't have quite as much velocity due to the shorter barrel, but it is not an uncomfortable gun to shoot. Well, let's take a look at it a little closer and look at some of the finer points. Now, friends, here's the sight mechanism I was talking about. You do have some adjustment. Like I said, I would raise it with some washers if this were my gun. Of course, all this is hard plastic. You can see here's the grip safety, and here's your trigger safety here. Anyway, it has a heat shield on top of the barrel. This is an 18-inch barrel. You can see the vertical grip, and which is probably not a bad idea, because gripping here is going to keep your hand from sliding off the gun. Let's say your hand was slippery and getting down around the muzzle, which really could ruin your day and ruin your hand forever. But here's how you release the bolt. Right here you have this piece, and it slides, opens the bolt. Easily inspected, and of course, like I said, right shoulder only. But it is a different concept, but one that does have its uses. Friends, we've got a lot of Air Force activity. Of course, we're near the Barstow Air Force Base here, northwest Louisiana. And I guess they're taking troops to Bosnia. Looks like it's going to happen. You know, Slick Willie's determined, even though he was certainly too good or whatever to go to Vietnam years ago, he wants to send somebody else's sons and daughters, for that matter, because there'll be a lot of women go too, over to Bosnia, and we're not sure what that's about, but the United Nations seems to think that's the right thing. Well, that's reason enough to suspect it right there. Okay, friends, it's very important to take some paper, whatever kind of shotgun you have, and go out and pattern the gun. Now, we're pretty close. We're just a few yards away from this target. But let's take a shot at our bottom target here with this Remington 870, and let's see where it hits. And we're just using birdshot up close, but for all practical purposes, it'll be just fine. Okay, take a look. Now that I was aiming right here, in fact, just underneath this, and that's in fact where it did hit. So, obviously, this Remington 870 is pretty much on. Well, let's take our Mossberg Bullpup here, and let's do the same drill with the issue sights that come with it. And now we're going to shoot at the top piece of tape on the target, and let's see what it does. Now then, see, even at a few yards, you'll notice, and let's come on up and take a look at this if we can. I realize I'm just a few steps away from this target. Now, the Remington, which is an open choke bore, has about a 3.5-inch pattern. All right, if you look here at the Bullpup pattern here, I was aiming here and it hit here. Again, you would have to lower or in fact raise the rear of the rear sight or lower the front sight, one or the other, to pick it up to get any sort of accuracy. But you'll see how this thing, it is more than twice the size of the standard Remington target. And I don't know, maybe that's what they had in mind. I don't know if all of them spread like this or not, but your effectiveness as far as keeping your shot column together or your shot string there together, you better shoot up close if you want. You know, you don't want to wound an animal or something. In a defense situation at home, I guess it would be okay up to a certain distance. But that's a pretty dramatic spread, literally twice what the open bore Remington had. So I don't know. It's with buckshot, it would certainly be spread out or whatever else you shot. Our accuracy with this, as far as slugs, again at 20 yards, we aim point be here, it would hit somewhere down here with the issue sight. So I wish those folks at Mossberg would address that. And of course, it's easy enough for the individual, but a lot of individuals are not tinkerers and they're not going to work on their own guns. So I guess they'd go and tell a gunsmith or whoever, says, well, the thing shoots 2 feet low at 20 yards, and what can you do about it? And a good gunsmith, I'm sure, could fix it.
Stay tuned for more of The Shootin' Show after these important messages.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
If you are a boater or a birder, if you ever carry a camera, Bi-Tote is for you. It is the most comfortable binocular and camera carrier on the market today. And its all-elastic quick change feature makes it possible to switch from one piece of equipment to another without missing a beat. If you think that carrying binoculars or cameras is a pain in the neck, try Bi-Tote. For the first time, your equipment will feel almost weightless, and you'll be free of that annoying swinging and bouncing which is hard on your body as well as the equipment, especially when you're negotiating rough terrain or on a pitching boat. One hand for you, one hand for the boat, and Bi-Tote for your binoculars or camera. They'll be ready for you instantly, held firmly in position. They're always there, not buried in a locker or other out-of-the-way place. And the Bi-Tote is totally adjustable for a custom fit. All necessary adapters and complete instructions are included with your Bi-Tote. How did you ever get along without it?
So, Johnny, how's the health club going?
Well, Alicia, I'm glad you asked that because the health club is going great, in fact. I tell you what, friends, we've heard from so many people all over the country that are getting such fabulous results from the products that we have available through our health club. Let me remind you, some of you out there will want an opportunity to make some extra money, and it is really a wonderful opportunity. We do have some things available that, and please, when you call in, let us know if you'd be interested in being doing some distribution for some of our products, because it is absolutely, as I've said before, this is one of the great discoveries of my adult life. You know, when I was approached, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago with these things, they said, you know, Johnny, you're going to feel better or your money back. I mean, I said, well, sure I am. Yeah, great. Friends, trust me on this one. It is absolutely, they are wonderful. My weight management program, Alicia, I tell you what, another 30 days, I'm going to be there. I have set myself a goal. Yes, I am. I'm gonna be there another 30 days. I think, and of course, the beauty part about the health management program, it's really not a diet. It's a system of healthy living, and it's healthy nutrition. It's just an absolutely terrific situation that we have available. Friends, you can call us if you want health club information. Call us 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name and address. Our staff is small, but they're doing the best they can to keep up, and we'll get some information out to you as quickly as possible. Again, 1-800-895-7916. It certainly helps our program, but you know what? It'll help you even more. For health club information, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name, address, and phone number. Someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Friends, this is such a wonderful thing. Do it for yourselves today. Well, friends, I tell you what, this is certainly an interesting gun to own, and I really don't think that we have to justify wanting one of these firearms. I think it's reason enough to have one. You know, our founding fathers did trust us enough to put that amendment to the Constitution that we could own and carry firearms. The Bullpup is a unique design, one that is not going to be for everyone. However, it certainly would be something that if you needed a short gun, one that was portable around your home or in a vehicle, and it was going to be at least a week before you got one, I'd suggest this. Heck, if you need a gun and you sign up for a handgun and you have a little bit extra cash, go on and buy a gun similar to this, something short, something you can use. Go out and find out how it operates, talk to somebody at a gun shop, get some instruction on how it works, and certainly it would be better than a long gun for a lot of different applications if this is the only choice you had. They are mechanically sound designs. Your standard Mossberg 500, which is a proven design, quality on the stock and the other pieces looks to be good. I don't know how durable it is. I assume that typically Mossbergs are very durable, and I assume it would be. Only complaint, like I said, I have this gun is this Mickey Mouse sight arrangement, and that, yeah, that's my words, and they may have a problem with that, but this needs to be addressed, because if you're going to put sights on a gun, they ought to work. They ought to be functional. So it could be just this example. I don't know. I've only shot one other of these guns years ago. Performance as far as reliability has been excellent. It does take some getting used to. You have to learn how your grip safety works. It is a different trigger. It takes some getting used to. I think the vertical hand grip here is a good idea with a short barrel like it is, certainly a good idea. It's going to keep your hand from getting around that muzzle. Certainly a good safety feature, and it's very positive. So, well, the Bullpup, interesting, unique, could be very useful for a lot of us in a number of different circumstances. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying our program this week. We're certainly enjoying bringing it to you. My esteemed colleague here, Leroy Scott, had a visit with Pat Buchanan the other day. Sir, you want to brief us on that? Tell us kind of how it went?
Well, he was down for the Republican State Central Committee meeting in Louisiana. And, you know, there's a big to-do going on between Iowa and Louisiana. Iowa says that they want each one of the candidates to boycott Louisiana. Pat Buchanan
Why?
said he wasn't boycotting anybody because they want to be first.
Oh, they want to be first. Well, great.
They want to be first. They want to have the first Republican primary or caucus or whatever in the country. And Louisiana's scheduled one for December, I mean for January.
Mm-hmm.
And incidentally, it's a wide open caucus. Any registered Republican can go down there and register and be an official delegate.
Really?
It's going to be in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have quite a number of people probably. Buchanan, of course, as you know, has been endorsed by the Gun Owners of America.
Which I think lends an awful lot of credibility to his campaign, wouldn't you say?
Well, you know, GOA has long been the most militant and the least compromising of all of the gun organizations. Primarily three of them, the NRA, GOA, and the Second Amendment Foundation. And they're all talking about the same thing right now. It's the anti-terrorism bill that's coming up. And incidentally, the NRA has lost its president.
Really? Explain that.
George Thomas L. Washington died of a heart attack
No, I didn't know that.
at the age of 58. He was hunting, died of a heart attack, and he was a very ardent supporter of the Second Amendment.
Well, that's terrible. I didn't. When did that happen? On the 5th?
It happened on December 5th.
Well, that's just a couple of days, a few days ago. Yeah. Well, heck, I didn't know that.
And the first vice president, who happens to be a lady, is the first female-type president of the NRA we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a long history of activism and is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment and a no-compromise type female.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. There are some women out there that really can do a wonderful job, and we encourage, as you know on this program, we encourage women to take as much part as possible.
We're looking forward to meeting her at the SHOT Show.
Oh, yeah, I guess we will. Yeah. Bear in mind now, the SHOT Show is January what?
11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Okay.
That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. In Dallas.
Beautiful downtown Dallas, Texas. And friends, I do mean downtown. Some of you who are dealers will be coming to the SHOT Show, and you can certainly, we're going to be wandering around with our camera. The judge and myself will be going around talking to people, and certainly, if you see us there, well, don't mind stopping us and talking to us. We're always happy to meet viewers and people that watch this program. We'll be very pleased to meet you and talk with you.
Well, you know, Johnny's the one that'll be carrying the camera. I'm going to be gawking.
Well, we're going to have some of our production crew there, I believe, this year that's going to be helping us. And really, that's what the SHOT Show, Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Trade Show, probably the largest show of its type in the world, I would think. Wouldn't you, Judge? I assume
I have never seen a bigger one, I can tell you that for sure.
Well, there will be about 1,500 different companies that will be represented there in Dallas from all over the world. I'm not that crazy. I like Dallas, but I'm not that crazy about the building facility. It has been confusing a little bit in the past. My favorite place, I suppose, to have a convention SHOT Show is in Las Vegas.
Come on, Johnny, aren't you just a little bit biased?
No, I'm really not, because they're more prepared for it. You know, they have the hotel accommodations. They have a very nice facility, but of course Dallas is close to us. It's just about a 3-hour drive from here to Dallas. So anyway, I'm sure.
Worst comes to worst, we could commute.
That's true. That's true.
I've got a lot of other information here. I want to go ahead and get some of it covered. The lady president of the NRA now is named Marion Hammer. I assume she'll be at the SHOT Show. The NRA is usually well represented there, as is incidentally the Second Amendment Foundation and Gun Owners of America. I commend that to all of you who happen to have the wherewithal and the credentials to get into the place.
We will remind them the SHOT Show is not open to the public. It is a manufacturer showing to dealers primarily. And, of course, we have to go and photograph that, but it is not a public convention.
Well, it's dealers, it's distributors, it's press, and that's how we get in. But
And normally, what, about 40,000 people come, something like that?
I don't know, Johnny.
40.
It's a lot.
40 to 50,000 over several, yeah.
It's a whole bunch. Going on further, House Resolution 1488, which is the vote on the Clinton gun ban repeal. There are over 100 co-sponsors of it now. And if your representative is not a co-sponsor, call them up and ask them why not. They ought to be. That's called the Citizens Protection from Violent Crime Act of 1995. There's a big push on right now to get the anti-terrorism bill or the counter-terrorism bill through Congress, and it has some real bad provisions in it. One of the things that I object to about it so much is its diminution of the right of habeas corpus. It expands the so-called good faith exception to the to searches and seizures, and all of that is just bad.
Well, what's really distressing, friends, you can walk around and talk to anybody you want to. Nobody is pro-terrorist. I mean, Judge, don't you agree? Nobody on the face of the earth, hardly, other than terrorist organizations, are pro-terrorist. What we're concerned about is that the largest terrorist acts committed in this country were committed by our own government. You know, they have killed more people in the past several years than all the terrorists combined in this country, wouldn't you say?
Well, I haven't tried to take account on that, Johnny, but I am opposed to the idea of surrendering some of our freedom in order to gain a little illusion of safety. I'll take my licks at safety as long as I have freedom. And limitations on freedom I strenuously object to. Other things. Some of these things are pretty good, incidentally. We finally got through Congress something that stops the government from torching M1s.
Really?
M1 carbines, handguns. President Clinton's culture war against American gun owners suffered a major setback when thousands of surplus firearms were granted a reprieve from a Department of Defense demilling operation. You know what demilling is?
Cutting them up.
Yeah.
Cutting them up.
The operation, which has destroyed numerous firearms, including many M1 Zorans, M1 carbines, Model 1911 pistols, .22 caliber training rifles, ended earlier this week when the President signed a Department of Defense appropriations bill that included an NRA-backed provision imposing a moratorium on the government's gun crunching. We can thank Senator Ted Stevens, Republican of Alaska, who pushed that important provision through the
Well,
Senate.
good for him. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it. You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE, and those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month. Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today. To give a gift subscription to the New American Magazine to one of your favorite people, you can do so at the regular price of just $39, and each additional gift subscription is just $29. Again, that's for a full year subscription. The first one, $39. If you give an additional one, it's only $29. Call this number. The gift subscription number is area 414-749-3784. Again, area 414-749-3784. You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is.
The Ron Noble, the Treasury Department Undersecretary for Enforcement, and who was quite active. If you watch the Ruby Ridge hearings and the Waco hearings, was quite active in that connection on behalf of the BATF. We understand is resigning.
Well, that's great.
Well, we're not getting much better.
Well, we're not, yeah.
The former Arizona Senator Dennis DeConcini.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Surely
he has,
not.
he's a strong gun control supporter. The thing I object to about DeConcini is that he campaigned on behalf of firearms ownership, and then when he got in the Senate, he started voting the other way around.
He turned on his own people. That's what he did. And I tell you what, those folks in Arizona are about as pro-gun as any bunch, I think, in this country, and it just goes to show that a man sold them out, DeConcini.
Well, Gun Owners of America this week sent a 2-page fax. It came in today. And they are very upset about this anti-terrorism bill. They have some bad provisions in it, including punishing the seller of a gun with which gun a crime has been is later committed. You know, you might just as well punish the seller of gasoline.
That's
when
right.
Somebody takes some of it and makes a Molotov cocktail out of it and throws it at somebody's house and burns it down.
Or for that matter, just a fire in general, house fire, garage fire, whatever else. All the car dealers will be run out of business within 24 hours, because if someone had a wreck in a car that was sold to them, I mean, it's going to be the same thing. This is insane.
Well, I can carry it to a still further measure of insanity. How about the makers of matches?
Oh, that's right. Oh, a match could be used to start a fire that burns burn a house down, or a forest fire, or whatever else.
So you sue the maker of the match.
Sue the maker of the match. That's real bright. But this is what we're up against.
But that bill is really bad. It allows officers to illegally wiretap your home as long as it's done in, quote, good faith, and they're all in good faith.
They're all in good faith,
Sure
of
they will.
course.
If you don't believe it, ask them. They'll tell you. gives the FBI enhanced authority to obtain names of banks at which you maintain accounts, your address, employer, employment history, complete records about the airline flights you have, the cars you've rented, the hotels which you've stayed, all without any evidence that you might be involved in criminal activity.
Don't they have enough authority already?
They've got plenty of authority. They have plenty of authority. And the intrusion into our rights of privacy are just horrendous. The bill allows the government to use secret evidence against certain individuals. And secret evidence. Now, you know, what the hell is that? Secret evidence.
See, that makes no sense at all. I mean, this is friends, let me tell you, this is Gestapo stuff here. This is KGB/Gestapo stuff we're talking about that is being proposed here in this country, and I don't think we ought to stand for it. You need to call your senator, you need to call your representative, huh?
Well, that's what they're trying to get done. And, of course, the key to it is not just your senator or representative. The key to it are two very important people. The Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader in the Senate, because those people control the flow of legislation in the House and the Senate. Now, I want to give you the Speaker's telephone number. The telephone number in his Speaker's office, and you can take this down now, it's area code 202-225-0600. That's the Speaker's office. His fax number is 202-225-7733. Send him a fax. Tell him kill that terrorism bill. He's also got a regular office. That is his regular legislative office, and that's 1-800-962-3524. That's 800-962-3524, and 800-872. This is a long distance call now. 872 no
free call.
1-800-872-8513. 8513. And tell him that actions that kill people, like blowing up buildings or derailing trains, is already a crime.
Yes.
We don't need to give government officials any more power than they have, especially seeing how some of them, such as in Waco and Ruby Ridge, have already abused the power they have and appeared for the most part to escape any punishment or discipline, or for that matter, even being sorry about it.
Yeah, even being sorry. You know, we have yet to hear one apology from the government. They said, yeah, mistakes were made. As Janet Reno said, I'm sorry about those people the U.S. government burned up. I'm sorry. Did they say I'm sorry to Randy Weaver over his wife being shot for no purpose at all? Or his son being shot?
And his dog.
And his dog. Has anyone said they're sorry? I don't think so. Not one time.
If you belong to a gun club, get the members of your gun club to start calling. You'd be surprised what an effect these personal contacts have, even though you may not be one of the Speaker's direct constituents, because he is the leader of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. You can call any representative at 1-800-962-3524. They'll connect you up, or they'll take a message. There's another number, 1-800-872-8513, 8513, and ask them to oppose H.R., that's House Resolution, 2703, and to deliver the same message that you have about blowing up buildings and derailing trains and so forth already being crimes. We just do not need to have any more laws on that subject. Incidentally, Chuck Schumer, Charles Schumer, boy, he is bad medicine. We want him to, he has introduced a bullet ban amendment to almost every bill you can think of. I don't know how many times he's introduced it. And of course, that's the back door to a gun ban.
Oh, of course. Now, friends, as we've said many times on this program, our opposition, the people that literally want to take everything away from us that goes bang, they're not resting. They are not laying around. They are at work full time. And we have to oppose them. because you know what? I mean, that's how we've lost the rights that we have, because they kept chipping away at our rights. And friends, it's happening every day. We cannot let them get away with it.
Well, you know, I'll be in Idaho during Christmas week, actually a few days before Christmas until a few days afterwards. And I'll be hopefully I'll be picking up my concealed weapon permit in Idaho. That's one of the states that does not require a residency for the issuance of that permit. And I applied for it the last time I was there, and they have to do a background investigation on you and all that sort of thing. I should clear it. I don't know. There may be somebody with the same name. You know, I've got a disc that has telephone numbers on it.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
We've got all the telephone numbers in the country on, I think, 5 or 6 CDs.
Right.
And you'd be surprised how many people have the same name I have. I did
Well,
some
sir,
checking on that.
But let me be the first to say, but you're in a class by yourself, sir. So.
Well, I certainly hope so. Incidentally, the Gun Owners of America and the National Rifle Association, not the only ones disturbed about this anti-terrorism bill. The third organization, the Second Amendment Foundation, is after it also. And, you know, they're the ones that publish Gun Week, or one of their subsidiaries publishes Gun Week. And it's a pretty good little thing. Outside of these faxes that give you a weekly, almost a daily rundown on what's happening, this thing gives it to you weekly, and it's very, very current.
Well, one thing we do want to mention, we have, of course, a number of viewers in Canada, and we've received a couple of things here. The Canadian Senate passes an oppressive gun bill. The Canadians really, and we have a little piece here in another publication, a sweeping Canadian gun law has passed this week requiring registration of all firearms, providing mandatory punishment for possession of non-registered guns, and giving the government unprecedented powers to ban any firearm or firearms-related item. Well, friends, our Canadian friends, especially our gun club members, we appreciate you being there so much, and we do feel for what you're undergoing. Now, what we've seen, a lot of things, it seems like they're tried first in Canada. They take something away from the Canadians, see how it works, and then some of our knuckleheads down here will try and do the same thing to us. Well, friends, it is happening all around us, and we cannot be overly aware of what's going on.
Well, I don't know what it is about the Canadians, Johnny, about the Canadian government. I don't think there's anything very different about the Canadian people, but the
really
Canadian, the Canadian government is, I don't know, it is a mystery to me, is why people that are just 2 miles apart, one on one side of the border and one on the other side of the border, can have such different ideas about gun ownership. And I can tell you the Canadians have a very narrow view. Canadian law has a very narrow view on it. I don't know how anybody ever manages to do any hunting up there in Canada.
Well, it's really been, it hasn't been that severe in the past. It has gotten a lot more severe in what we're looking at now. The gun ownership in Canada is really becoming very difficult, as I understand it.
Well, I got a nice letter from a builder developer in whose mailing address is Deerfield, New Hampshire. He was fussing that we don't ever let anybody know what our names are.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Leroy Scott. The blonde-headed, the blonde girl who does our station breaks and some of our commercials, that's Jennifer Hancock.
She's not with us anymore.
No, Jennifer is in Boston, actually. She got a modeling contract up there. Our assistant is Catherine Breitling, and she takes part. Donna Mitchell also does some things for us. We have several very nice young ladies. He was wanting to know who they were.
Well, incidentally, this here is Johnny Rowland.
Thank you very much. Well, and you know, someone asked the other day, in fact, just why I'll sit here a lot of times with, you know, friends, to the uninitiated, this may be an assault weapon. It's really not. This is a semi-automatic rifle. And some people don't understand just what this is about. Well, you know what? There's nothing to be ashamed of having one of these black rifles like this because, you know, isn't this amazing, Judge? You know, there's nothing, we take the magazine out, we know it's unloaded. Now, this gun's been around here for a while, hasn't it? I've never seen it shoot anything. I've never seen it do anything that's bad without, you know, some bad person pulling a trigger on anything. This gun's never done anything bad.
Well, I can tell you what the worst thing about that gun is.
What is it?
How much it cost.
Well, that's true.
I remember when I paid $175 for one, brand new in the box from the factory, and I griped about it.
Well, apparently they were pretty valuable to somebody. I heard of AR-15 type guns going during the scare last year, going as high as $3,500. And now you can find them for under $1,000 a lot of different places. But, you know, that's the amazing thing. This is a very fine, actually a very fine varmint gun. It's
like the stock market, Johnny. You don't know when to sell.
That's true. But it's never done anything bad. This one certainly had, because I've always been able to control it. If you don't, and it hadn't shot anything that I hadn't pulled the trigger on, you know.
Incidentally, Jim, I'm going to send you information about the Oklahoma bombing reprints. I appreciate your check. It will be coming to you. I've had to get a reprint of the second article because my first article got liberated. My first copy of it got liberated by somebody. Either that or I filed it in a circular file and can't find it. But I have talked to the people at New American Magazine. They're sending me a couple more, and one of them's going to you. So there.
Well, sir, I think we covered it. Hey, stay tuned, friends. It is exciting.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Get your hands off that gun, bow, or fishing rod. Holding onto your equipment while you're going through the woods or climbing a hill is fatiguing and possibly dangerous. The versatile Tri-Tote all-season carrier is easy to use. You never have to drill a hole in your fine gun stock. And the Tri-Tote can be set up for your specific needs in a jiffy. Just follow the illustrated instructions and free demo video enclosed. There you are, hands-free, yet ready to shoot in an instant. Hunting and fishing have never been more enjoyable. With Tri-Tote, your equipment is secure and your hands are free to support yourself or carry other gear. How did you ever get along without Tri-Tote? Make this year's hunting and fishing the best ever. To order your Tri-Tote at this special TV price, call toll-free 1-800-231-1443. That's 1-800-231-1443.
You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here at Byrd High School in Shreveport, Louisiana today, and we're here with a gentleman named Charles Thompson. And Charles, you are the coordinator of the rifle team here at Byrd, is that right?
Yes, I am.
Well, tell us now. I see some ranks here on your shoulders. What are you, sir? What are they? Are you?
I'm a retired Army First Sergeant. I retired in 1991 after 27 years, and so moved on to this job.
Well, now, where are you from? This area, Charles?
I'm originally from Bastrop, Louisiana.
Okay. Okay. Well, friends, honestly, this is a program that I think a lot of us aren't aware of. Certainly, the size or depth of ROTC in high school today. Now, Charles, you were telling me that this is one of the larger Army ROTC units in the country.
It is. For a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago, for a couple years in a row, it was the largest. But I think we're probably up in the top 3 now.
Well, still now, when you're talking about large, you're talking 400 plus students involved in ROTC.
Basically 400 plus, yeah.
Well, now, you know, friends, this is great because these are young people that when they come to ROTC, what are your goals to teach your students, and what do they get from ROTC?
One of the biggest things we like to stress here is what we call leadership skills, which is composed basically of communication skills. We like for them to be able to give oral presentations. We give them a lot of opportunities to write and to read. And the other side of the coin is we like to familiarize them with working with other people, both as leaders and followers, and kind of brush up on their social skills.
Well, now, I certainly applaud your efforts because these are things that in today's public school environment, all of us know there's so many problems in public education all over the United States, and I think this is a great thing you're doing for these young people. Now, something we were talking about earlier that you folks may find interesting, what percentage of males versus females are in your program?
Well, at this time, approximately 55% of the program are female, and the other 45% are male.
Well, you know, I had no idea. And when Charles said that earlier, I said I was somewhat shocked. But apparently there are a lot of these young women out there who want to become involved in the military, right?
I don't think it's the military necessarily. I think they are interested in learning the leadership skills. I think they're interested in improving their communication skills. And a few of them do find their way to the military, but I don't think that's their primary focus when they come here.
Well, now, you were telling me earlier this is excellent collegiate training. Is that right?
I believe it is, because the skills that we teach here, they certainly will have to use when they get to college. And this is probably one of the few places where they can spend quite a large amount of time perfecting those skills.
Well, let me ask you this. I noticed, what are we, these kids over here today, and what ages do you work with here at Byrd High School?
Well, I work with all of them from 14 to 18, basically, from freshmen all the way through seniors. And I have beginner shooters, intermediate shooters, and I have another little group that I give extra training to. I call them my advanced shooters. And,
well, now, primarily, of course, what we're using here is air rifles.
We use exclusively air rifles, and I have about 3 different kinds that I use depending on the proficiency of the shooters.
Well, you also said you teach 3-position shooting. What might those be?
We teach the prone position, the standing position, and the kneeling position.
And you said that you just, your facility here is actually qualified for 22 rimfire. Is that right?
It is. This school has been here for a long time, and when the range was first opened, it was opened for 22s. And this is just a very recent thing, changing over to air rifles. Well, this is a Daisy Model 853, and we generally use these for our beginning shooters. At some point in time, if they stay with us long enough and they become proficient enough, we have another gun that we use, the Elgamo, which is basically made by the same company, the Daisy Manufacturing Company. These guns are basically inexpensive. They're easily fixed. We can fix them right here on the range, and they're accurate enough to serve our purposes here for teaching marksmanship. Okay, the sights on the Daisy 853 are basically aperture sights. The one in the rear, of course, has a small hole that they can look through, and it's adjustable for azimuth and elevation. And they have a front peep sight, which is also an aperture type sight that they have to center in the rear in order to aim at the target. It's very simple to load. It has a bolt on the side, which opens this little small place right here. You slide the pellet in, push it forward. Charge it with air, and once you close it, it's ready to shoot. Well, this is the precision grade weapon we use. It's called an Elgamo. It's made in a co-op between a Spanish company and the Daisy Manufacturing Company. It's more expensive, it's longer, it's heavier. It uses the same type sights, although these sights are a lot more accurate, but they're also adjustable in the rear for azimuth and elevation, and use the front peep sight. It loads a little bit differently, and the velocity is quite a bit higher. It has a side cocking lever. This is the breech here. We load the pellet and put it up in there. Just close this thing back, and it's ready to fire. Okay, this young lady here is one of the shooters on my varsity team, one of my more advanced shooters, and what she's doing right now is observing the targets and where they're hitting when they shoot, so that she can give them sight adjustment. And she can also tell by looking down there if they make a mistake, and then go ahead and correct the mistake for them so they can go on. But these are beginner shooters here, and they're just learning, so it takes a lot of correction and a lot of observation to get them up to skill.
Now, how far did you say this range is today? We're talking, your standard, what, 10 meters?
Standard is 10 meters, 33 feet for air rifles. Well, right now, they're in the kneeling position. This is the last position that they'll shoot. And you can see that they're wearing shooting jackets. And the basic purpose of the jackets at this point is to make sure that their sling won't slip down their arm. For beginner shooters, that's very important because it helps them get some kind of uniform stability. Later on, the coats become important because they also add stability to the body when you get into your position. These are the targets we use. You can see that there's basically 12 targets on here. The two in the center are sighter targets, and we use those to adjust the sights on the guns. And then, of course, they shoot at the targets on the outside for score. Each one of them counts up to a maximum of 10 points. Or if they miss the target, it'll count 0. Maximum of 10 points on each target.
Girls going out, boys, it's okay, you can go out and try and you may beat some of these girls. But this is a very exacting and demanding sport, one that really I would think would help in all precision skills that you might want to do, because the target areas you're talking about, and these really are accurate guns, as you were saying.
Possibly the most important aspect of learning to be a good shooter is the mental skills that they learn. They learn self-control, they learn to be motivated, they learn to concentrate and focus, and those are skills they can use anywhere.
Well, and what I think is very important is something else, the skills of the individual, because it's not the whole team that's down there pressing that trigger, it's that individual at that moment. So I think this is great, something that we as the Shooting Show are going to promote, and we just appreciate the good folks at Byrd High School and Sergeant Thompson letting us come down today, and hey, I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy it. Thank you.
Well, I
again.
appreciate you coming back.
Well, it's been our pleasure, and I know our folks are going to enjoy this segment.